Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today is Monday, the 15th of July, 2019. It's Amazon Prime Day. Whoopee. Yes, indeed. If you're an Amazon Prime member, there are all kinds of specials happening for about 3 minutes before they sell out if you have nothing else to do but sit in front of your keyboard and watch for deals. Today and tomorrow is your lucky day. As you can tell, I'm not real excited about Amazon Prime Day. I think their everyday prices are good enough. They did have an Intel NUC Generation 8, which is about an $800 computer for about $200 off. But I couldn't click on the link fast enough to make that happen. But regardless, it's for Amazon Prime members only. And if you want to check that out, you go right ahead and start without me. And today I've got a build that we're going to look at here. It's a potential upgrade. We're going to see what's upgradable. And is it going to be worth doing that? To this machine right here behind me, this is an Alienware Aurora R something. I can't remember. Probably says on the back. Or not. I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. And we'll take a look here at what we can upgrade and whether or not it's reasonable to do so. First of all, can everybody see and hear me okay? Is the audio in sync? And hello to all my friends in blue. Welcome in to DeSant Packler and Thomas Carter, Lourdes Evans, and Anders Jorgensen, Gil Garcia, Patrick Russo, Jimmy Bateman, Tony Wallow, James Hook, Rare Apple 3, Jesse Kirk, John Paul Bacon, Craig Lilly, Joseph Neal, Philip Drake, Al Pope. Thank you guys. And Tony Wallow contributed 99 cents. Thank you, Tony. Fighting a little bit of a cold here, I think, so I'm going to just soldier on and get through this because I have a lot of work to do and many things are in motion that I can't stop. So I'll do my best to keep up and hopefully my voice will stay with me throughout. Stephen Boker, thank you, Stephen. Tony Vento, Polestar69, David Williams, Paul Wright. Welcome in, guys. Hey, thank you so much. All right, so this is a viewer who reached out to me and said, I've got a computer here that I would like for you to upgrade. And I said, I'm listening. And so he explained that he's got this Alienware system and he's had it for a couple years. He's got nothing but great things to say about it, but he's going to want to add a high-end graphics card to it. And he's afraid that the power supply is too small. He wants to go with some solid state storage and maybe even add an Elgato capture card. And so I thought we'd take a look and see what is possible with these machines. These were expensive, they still are expensive machines. Alienware is now owned by Dell, so they're effectively sort of a blur between the Dell XPS line and Alienware. Now, I've literally taken this out of the box and set it up here on the bench. I've not done any preparation for this. This is all, once again, when you work as a real technician in the real world, you don't get the opportunity of rehearsals or studying ahead of time for most problems. You won't know what you're getting into until you arrive on site or until the computer comes to you. Whichever the case may be, that's what you do for a living, and I'm just operating my video no differently than I operate my job. Too many other videos on YouTube are too scripted and too edited and too polished, which people find entertaining and they think they're really educational when in fact they're somewhat educational, but they don't, in my experience, portray a real world view of what it is to be a computer technician, that you will constantly encounter the unknown. And for those of us that are into that, that's the appeal of it, honestly. To rehearse it and to practice and to become an actor or a showman isn't what I signed up for. I signed up to do the work. And whatever that work is, with regards to computers and technology, I have enough knowledge of how it works and enough ability to figure things out and use the internet as a resource to sort of put two and two together and get it resolved in a fairly timely manner. And I've been able to do that consistently now going on, it'll be 30 years next year, so must not be too bad at it anyway. So I just thought, why not flip a camera on and show everybody what it's really like, because it just feels like it's so far, these YouTube tech channels are so far from reality. So Steve Burnett has contributed $5. Thank you, Steve. And Craig Huchin has contributed $5. Thanks you guys for supporting the channel. I'm probably going to be drinking a lot through the video, and I shouldn't be drinking soda, but I'm going to. Now, I have no idea even how this thing opens up. So I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. I can go online and I can probably look for a video or a website that tells me what to do to open it up. But I don't want to jump to that first. I want to see if I can figure it out. It's my own personal challenge, and it's very simple, right? It's one of those things that opening up a case should be, I mean, if you can't do that, you probably shouldn't think about working on the inside. But in all fairness, sometimes they engineer these cases to make the levers or release mechanisms hidden to blend them in with the rest of the case. So the detail is very important at what you're looking at with your eyes, that you're looking for little things that may be different that would draw your eye. Like I see a little up and down right here. This right here, that's not a normal part of a case. I gotta guess that's gonna release one of these panels or unlock them or lock them. It appears up is unlocked according to what it says here. And after we've unlocked it, like I noticed this piece here, if you look very closely, which you probably can't see, there's a little diagram, looks like a little trash can with a piece coming off, but it's apparently the side of the case. So between unlocking it and pulling this lever, I have just now figured out all on my own how that comes off. This is what being a technician is about. It's not about, look, there are certainly people out there that are techs that are nothing more than robots following steps and scripts. I don't consider those people to be techs. A real working in the field technician needs to think on his or her feet. You need to have a creative imagination and think of what's possible. You need to think about, you know, what makes sense? How would I have done it if it was me? Where would I put it if I was the engineer who designed it? And then when you've exhausted a very limited amount of time, then you go Google it so your customer's not paying you to sit around there and tinker. So ideally, I was able to figure that out faster than it would have taken me to Google it and figure it out. That is just part of the job. Customers are paying for your time. Now, in this instance, when you see anything on video, customers are not paying me for my time. I'm making the money back on the video, so I can take my time, I can relax, and I can explain all the logic and reasoning that goes in behind it. I still have a number of viewers who are so brainwashed into entertainment that they don't seem to understand these videos are lengthy because I explain the why, so that they can learn how to fish themselves, you know, so they're not just feeding them a fish, but teaching them to fish, and they can feed themselves from that point. So it is a little frustrating when some of the viewers don't get it, but that's okay because we have all of you watching now, and clearly many of you, or all of you here now get it, which I appreciate. But I appreciate it even more every time somebody comes in and makes it loud and clear. I don't get it. And then they leave. It's a weird thing. It's really weird. You must dumb these videos down to my level of intelligence. I'm unsubscribing. Okay. So that's a little bit of what I deal with. But anybody who has a YouTube channel is going to deal with that regardless. But I find it somewhat humorous that somebody would be upset over free content. Sorry, I'm swallowing so loud. My throat is really getting to me. So we've got a graphics card in there. Not quite sure what it is just yet. There are two hard drive bays down here. These are for holding 2.5-inch drives. We want to see if there's perhaps an M.2 slot and if it supports NVMe, because that would be ideal. If not, we can use one of these to go to a solid state drive. And, oh, we have a hard drive right up here. This is the mechanical drive. That's the full-size desktop drive right up there. And this is obviously in the way. This power supply is blocking everything. It looks like it's a pretty standard power supply. When you're going to replace the power supply in one of these prefab units like this, you want to make sure you have one that's this depth. Obviously, a power supply that's any deeper than this is not going to fit in here. So we want to make sure when we replace this power supply with one more powerful that it matches this form factor. Now, that red Milwaukee screwdriver I got a few months ago has still never been on a charger. I charged the battery once. It remains on one star left, or one LED left on the battery strength. And I don't use this much off camera, but just the idea that the battery's been holding a charge now, we've got to be going on 3 months. That's amazing to me. When dealing with other electronic screwdrivers, the batteries were NiCad and they would just self-drain after maybe 10 days. It was very frustrating to leave it in a drawer, take it out to use it, and find it completely dead or flat. So I'm just going to keep going until it doesn't work, and then I'll do my second charge on it. And then I'll look at the video, whenever that first video was that I took this out for the first time, and we'll see just how long that battery lasted me, keeping in mind that it's mostly sitting in a drawer. And that's the problem with most reviews. You know, they take a product out, they use it for a day, and they've already come to their conclusion. This is a review that takes months to figure out how good is the battery, how good is the driver, you know, how does it hold up over time, how does it wear, how does it work, what are its little idiosyncrasies that I've only learned through using it, things like that. Those are the most useful reviews to me. Fritzer has contributed $5. It says, thank you, Carey, for all your videos. Always interesting to see different builds. Thank you, Fritzer. Hello to Fred Adams and Dimitri. John Williamson's contributed €2. Thank you, John. Stephen Bernstein, welcome in. Jim Maloney. Robert Fitzpatrick. Welcome in. Robert Jones. Zarian Art. Drawing Tutorials and Speed Paints has contributed $2. He says, nice to see you work on another PC. Absolutely. You know, this is really this is fun for me. This is what I enjoy doing the most. Reviews are interesting, and the interviews are fun, but this is where my heart is in this whole industry. It's just doing the actual work. So I'm going to start by removing this screw here and this screw here, which I'm hoping will let this move some way, somehow. Maybe, maybe not. What does this say? It says it's supposed to swing out. Oh, we have another lock here. So if I raise this to unlocked, then that should swing out. So apparently I didn't need to remove that cover, but that's all right. It's out of the way. Now I can at least get a shot at what's inside of here. There's a small, I'm guessing a little Wi-Fi card right down there. And there is an M.2 slot. You probably can't see it. It's way down in this corner. Let's see if we can take that down. Right down in there, there's a little M.2. And it's a matter of figuring out if that is if it's NVMe or SATA only. And it's got an IPK 8L or BL-SC motherboard, whoever makes that. We have a PCI 16 and a PCI 8 slot available. So yes, he can add the Elgato internal capture card. He does have room for that. I just wanted to make sure before I committed to it. There's a little extension cable here from the power supply. I'm not sure why, but it just seems to be an extension cable to go from here to the motherboard. 2 USB 3.0 external add-on plugs. This is interesting. Where's this spinning from? Oh, okay. So this is a proprietary power supply, and they're breaking off the 8-pin CPU power from what I thought was simply an extension, but it's more than an extension. It also splits off that 8-pin power since the power supply is not doing it. The power supply, you know, it's going to be a cheapie. Even Alienware uses cheap power supplies. And it looks like, I don't see any stickers on it. The person told me it was about 460 watts, and he's doing okay with this graphics card, which I can't remember what that is either. I'll have to power it up to see, or I could take it out and take a look there. And okay, that power connector is coming off the power supply directly. That's good. That's good. There's kind of a weird power supply in that way. We have a cooling fan, a big 120 millimeter cooling fan up on top, blowing air up out the top. Remember, you always want to blow air out of the case either through the back or out through the top. And you'll see with this case, this power supply is going to suck air in right here and blow the air from inside the power supply out through the back, and then everything else through the case up through the top. You don't want to blow it out through the top and the back at the same time, but because the power supply is its own enclosed unit, it needs its own cooling principles applied. We have a cooling fan up front as well. That's drawing air in. We're moving all that air down or in from the bottom front. And that air is to move up and then out through the top. Should look like almost like a letter L, rounded. Plenty of USB ports on here. He's got a USB Type-C, it looks like. Maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 USB 2s, 4 USB 3s, HDMI. Yeah, that seems to be Type-C right there. I don't know what that is. And then coaxial, that's probably audio. He's not using any of that built in because he's got the NVIDIA graphics card here with the display ports and HDMI ports and DVI ports. And then up front, he's got 4 more USB ports on top. I'm guessing 2 are USB 2 and 2 are USB 3. I'm guessing the Alienware head lights up. That's a little DVD drive, a slimline one right there. There are little connectors right up here, so apparently the side panel must light up. We've seen that before in other cases where there's little pins, and then when the cover goes back on it, they make contact with the circuit board on the inside of the panel, and then that lights that panel up. I think that's a staple of all Alienware machines. They have to light up. This, I just realized, is not an 8-pin, but a 4-pin in an 8-pin connector. So even there, they kind of cheaped out. I'm not sure why. Probably because the power supply wouldn't support it, and that would require a more expensive power supply, and they figure it doesn't need it the way we designed it, only if the end user goes and changes things, and that'll be their fault. And again, that is sort of the mantra of all of the PC building manufacturers, which is we guarantee it the way we built it, and they build it with absolute minimum specs with no room to grow. Anything you do above and beyond that's on you, and that's why you don't want to do this stuff in warranty. If you want a machine that you can modify and grow into, you definitely want to build it from scratch. It'll cost you less, or it'll cost you the same and you'll just get a lot more. Maybe you'll get more RAM or more storage or faster storage, but it'll always be in your benefit to build your own. Nicholas Menard just contributed 10 Canadian dollars. He says, I'm looking at this and it still baffles me that people buy them. The world would be a better place if everyone built their own computer. I understand that not everyone wants to do it, though. There are different attitudes with this. I don't think there's a right or a wrong here. There's many reasons why somebody may choose to go with a pre-built machine. All I care about is that you have the right expectations if you go down that road so that you don't end up disappointed. I think as long as you understand the limitations of building it yourself or having it built, you know, buying something pre-built rather, and you're okay with that, then I'm okay with it. Where I run into a problem is when you have to break the news to somebody that it isn't what they thought it was, and they've had the machine far too long to ever do anything. You know, they've had it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and only then do they learn it's not what they thought it was. And then it's just a little heartbreaking to have to be the one who explains it to them. So all I want to do is inform you to make the right decision for you, not to judge you based on what decision you made. Are the Inspired by Carey Holzman badges still available? Yes, they are. You can get them over at careyholzman.com is the merch store. They're available there. Also, check out the other merch we've got there. I want to remind you, never wanted to get into selling merch. It was something the viewers just kept hounding me about, and I said, fine, I'm going to do it reluctantly. and then nobody knows it's there and nobody buys anything from it. It is very frustrating. So if you're interested, check it out, careyholzman.com, and the link to it is in the notes below the video. Thank you for asking. Carey, are you growing a mustache? No, this is me when I don't shave. Yeah, it just comes in fuller around here, not so much on the sides. You know, it kind of sucks because you know, being in my mid-20s and wanting that Miami Vice look, this barely came in at all. And now that it's starting to come in, it's gray. So I can't win. You know, it's careful what you ask for. You might just get it. JCM Willinson says, I made a 2E donation, not even mentioned. In fact, I did say thank you, but I'll say thank you again. I would encourage you to rewind the video in case you missed it, but I did call your name out and I did say thank you to you. I do sometimes miss contributions, but I did not miss yours. You missed my thank you. But it's really not what this is about. If you want to support the channel, I do appreciate it. And I do, if I miss a shout out, if somebody makes me aware of it, or I will go back at the end of the show and I will once again repeat everybody who's contributed. I don't know of any other channel that really does that. Most of the time they just, other channels, they get contributions, they don't even acknowledge them. I think that's so rude, so rude. So no, I do appreciate it, and I appreciate your support of the channel. Let it grow? Yeah? I don't know. I don't know. I look slimmer. Well, thank you. I don't feel slimmer. All right. So what are we going to do with this computer? He wants to change the video card on here. And let me just see what this is. Let's pull it out of here. This is a GeForce GTX 1070. That's not too shabby considering it's only a 400 and some odd watt power supply powering. And he hasn't had any problems. Says it's not having any problems. He'd like it to go a little faster. The best way to make this go faster is to simply replace that hard drive with a solid state drive. The question is, right in here, will this support NVMe? Because if this will support NVMe, then the sky's the limit. We can go with some bigger storage fairly inexpensively, like the Intel 660p M.2 NVMe drive, which I can buy cheaper, and you can buy it too, cheaper than the SATA equivalent to get NVMe. It's just not the fastest NVMe. It's about 3 to 4 times faster than SATA, but if you went with Samsung NVMe, you could go another 3 times faster than that. So we could get about 2/3 of the way there at 2/3 of the price. Or no, I take it back. At the same price or less as what a SATA of the same capacity would be. So it'd be foolish not to use NVMe if it's available. BZim has contributed $10. Hey, thank you, BZim. Thanks for supporting the channel. Would you rather feel good or look good? I would rather feel good. I don't have to look at me. It's not my problem. So yeah, I am still need to figure out what this is. So let's pull up, there's a service tag on here, and let's find out exactly what this machine is, and then we can figure out from that point forward whether or not that's a SATA or NVMe M.2. So that requires my reading glasses, which I am needing more and more. This was manufactured on March 25th, 2017, so it's just about 2.5 years old. It's still a fairly new computer. And let's take a look here. Go to support.dell.com. And then we'll take a look at entering the service tag here. Let's see what it says. It says it's out of warranty. Well, that's not news. Diagnostics, service code, system configuration, expired, warranty expired June 29, 2018. Well, it's all about software. Office, Windows 10 Home, 802.11ac with Bluetooth 4.2, dual band 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, built-in Wi-Fi. Apparently it came with an NVIDIA GTX 1060 with 6 gigs in 8 times DVD reader writer, a 2 terabyte 7200 spin hard drive, not manufacturer specific. It's an Intel Core i7, but it doesn't give us the model. It is 16 gigs of DDR4, 2400 speed. That's 2 sticks of 8. Shipping materials and placemats. It's an i7 7700 CPU. That's 4 cores, 8 meg cache. It'll turbo boost up to 4.2. It is a 460 watt power supply, 460. And it is the Alienware Aurora R6 case, or it actually is the whole motherboard. So what we have to figure out is, based on that, doesn't tell us anything about the M2 drive. Hard drives internal. Yeah, it just shows physical mechanical drives. I'm not interested in that. Is it under accessories? No, that's just keyboard and mouse, which you can buy anywhere. You certainly would not have to buy that from Alienware. Shop all Alienware R6 parts and accessories. Memory, mouse, keyboard, hard drive, RAM. That's it. M2 is not even offered as an option. So even if you were trying to be Alienware loyal and you wanted to get all of your parts official from Alienware, that is not an option for you. Interesting. Now I can physically look at the plug and see if it will house an NVMe. It's kind of hard to tell unless it's got 2 notches. If it's got 2 notches, I know for sure it's SATA. But if it's got 1 notch, it's just, if it's 1 pin over, it's SATA, and if it's the other pin over, it's NVMe, and that can be hard to tell with the naked eye. But let me just take a quick look here, just to see if there might be 2 notches in it. There's only 1 notch. So I'm going to show you a little secret. Well, it's not really a little secret. I'm going to show you something that's very common sense, and then you can take this and do with it what you will. What I'm going to do is, I've got an NVMe drive back here. I think I do. I think I do. Maybe I don't. Oh yeah, I do. So here I've got a Western Digital Black M.2 SSD NVMe. These are pretty fast. This one is rated up to 3,400 megabytes per second. This is a 500 gig drive. They have a 5-year warranty. And if it fits into that socket, then it's compatible. In other words, if the notch here in the socket aligns with the notch on the M.2 drive, then it's compatible. Like I said, on SATA only, it won't fit. And that fits. That, in fact, fits. So it appears to support NVMe. Now, the next question is, where's the little standoff screw? Because it appears to be missing. There is a standoff in the 2280 position, but without the screw. So there's nothing to secure the drive in place. So what I need to do, remember somebody sent me some screws. I think Tony did it. I think it was Tony Wallow sent me some M.2 screws. And I put them away. And I don't know if Dell didn't include it. This may be something I'm going to have to stock up on. And these may not be the right size, but there's a little bag of screws and standoffs for M.2 that I want to say Tony Wallow in the chat room sent me from They were available on Amazon. You'll see there's about 4 standoffs and 4 screws and a little driver in there. And I think that screw's too small, but we'll start with this and see where it takes me. So in total, now I can see with the video card out, there are actually 2 PCI by 8 slots here and 2 PCI 16s, PCI Express. So let me see. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Put the drive in. Don't want to drop that screw. Feels good. Yeah, that's holding it in place. Well done, Tony. Send me the right things. Thank you, Tony. I'm going to put all this back, so I will have it for the next time I need it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect that mechanical drive, and I'm just going to see if I can install Windows 10 fresh and clean and make sure that that works, do a speed test. But I can feel my nose running. I'm sure that looks great on camera. So we'll put that back in there, and this back in here. Let me just go put this back where it was before I forget, and then I won't be able to find it next time I need it. Say, who said OCD is a bad thing? What do they know? Just doesn't fit back in the bag. There we go. Okay. Now, we can fire it up. Let me move some of the stuff out of the way. Then we put the graphics card back in it and give it power again. Giving the graphics card power again. I have not powered up the computer yet. There's no rear support back here for the graphics card, but there is that little plastic thing that I took off that we can put back in, although that's not really an issue. This piece isn't really an issue for everyday use. This is more for shipping it and making sure that it arrives okay. I can't remember which way it came off now, if it went on. Which way did it go? And it's important when you're taking these things apart that you consider the direction that pieces came off so that you understand how they go back in. And it looks like this may actually fit in numerous other positions besides that one. And then of course I have to give it the power again, which is right here. But we can leave this open. You know, this does not have to be closed up to test it and to start it. But before I do, I want to make sure that this hard drive is unplugged, because I do not want, at this point, I don't want any data being wiped out by mistake, you know, of installing Windows 10. I only want to see if the NVMe drive is seen and that Windows installs and operates at its performance that it should, right? And then based on that, I can call the client and go, okay, here's what the motherboard supports. I'm not trusting any documentation on this. I had a viewer say that they ordered an M.2 for their HP laptop. They looked at the M2 manufacturer's site, that said that HP laptop did support it. Come to find out, he bought a cheaper version of that laptop, where once the M.2 drive was purchased, there was no socket for it. Because he had purchased the cheaper version of the laptop, the manufacturer saved money by not including the socket. So where the socket would be was a bare spot on the circuit board. So we sent the M.2 drive back to the manufacturer, and they said, well, there's going to be a restocking fee. And he said, well, that's not right. You said it was compatible. And they said, yeah, and we're right. It is compatible with models of this laptop that aren't the cheap versions. Well, how are you supposed to know that? Well, you're supposed to open it up and look before you order the parts. So as far as the manufacturer is concerned, they didn't screw up. As far as the M.2 drive manufacturer is concerned, they didn't screw up. The information they provided was accurate. The customer's kind of stuck in the middle, and the manufacturer of the M.2 drive is like, look, you ordered this, we shipped it to you, we met all of our obligations. It's not our fault that you happened to buy a version of that laptop that was cheaper and didn't come with it. Customer feels like, well, you should put a little asterisk or something that say, you know, not all laptops of this model are exactly identical. And it's like, just pay us the restocking fee and go away. So I think it was more or less how it went down. So bear in mind, you should always open up things and verify before you spend any money on parts, especially some parts aren't returnable. And it's one of those things that you don't have to worry about if you take it to somebody else. But if you're wanting to be a technician, or you are a technician, and you tell somebody you're going to do that upgrade for them, and you find yourself in that position, imagine how embarrassed you might be having to tell a customer, I can't do this. Your laptop, in fact, does not support it. And you've lost all that time. Customer thinks you're, who knows, maybe they think you just made a mistake, or maybe they think you really don't know what you're doing. And then you're stuck with the part, assuming you bought it. Somebody's losing some money, and you're definitely losing your time, and you're not instilling any customer confidence. You always have to open and see with your own eyes. Always. Do not believe documentation. Parts get revised, and manufacturing gets revised all the time. Documentation does not keep up. Okay, let's give this thing some power and hook it up to the video capture card, and spark it up. Richard Gocher says, I had the same problem with my Lenovo, said it would take an M.2 drive, bought one, took it apart to fit it, and there was no socket to fit it into. Yeah, all of them, I think all the manufacturers, HP, Dell, anything that's sold in a retail store, there's usually a slightly different version that's sold at a lower price point, because the consumers just aren't educated enough to understand the difference other than price and some basic specifications. And it's very rare that a customer would have that level of knowledge. And when they do, how would you know? Because they're not asking anybody any questions. Like, they've already done their research, they know what they want. They usually would probably buy it online. You know, they wouldn't buy it at a retail store. But that being said, just always open things up and look before you order parts. And especially if you're telling somebody else you're going to do it for them. It's one thing when you do it to yourself. Imagine the embarrassment and the amount of financial loss if you're trying to run a business and you do that to a customer. That customer may be lost. Like, they may never come to you again for work. You've wasted their time, you've wasted your time, and you still have bills due. So it's really important that you are confident in the advice that you give through actual experience, not from researching things online, because at that point you just have faith, and faith is not going to keep you in business. It doesn't for me. We're allowed to make mistakes. You're certainly allowed to do that, but if you do it too many times, you may not be able to stay in business. So best to avoid that scenario altogether. Now, of course, most businesses will have parts like that laying around in stock, or they will use it in another machine, so it's not a financial loss, but it's still a time loss, and it's still a customer confidence loss. Customer confidence can be your biggest loss, because you don't know how much work you could have gained from that customer, or how many referrals you could have got from that customer. It's a number that is unsubstantiated with potential and possibility that gets completely wiped out to zero because of a mistake. If customers wanted to make mistakes, they'd have done it themselves. The reason they hire somebody is so that it gets done right. So keep that in mind. You know, what would you do if it was you? What if the roles were reversed? What if you paid this money and gave up your machine for however much time the tech had it, only to give it returned to you exactly in the same condition, with the tech going, oh, sorry, couldn't do it. You know, you could have saved us both a lot of time if you'd have told me that right from the get-go. Tech says, well, I didn't know. Customer says, well, then why do you call yourself a tech? What do you think I was calling it tech for? I wasn't asking a friend to do it. Believe me, this is real-world stuff. I'm not just making this stuff up as I go. I am sharing with you real experiences from my past, hoping that you'll consider them so that you don't have to reenact them, or you can at least not be blindsided by it. You can see it coming. You know, you can head it off if you want to, or you can let it roll. But at least you'll go at it with a better understanding of this, what the situation can possibly become, and take steps to avoid that. Being told in the chat room this actually sucks air from the top. It doesn't blow air out the top. That it does appear to be correct. The orientation of this fan does seem to be that it's bringing air in from the top. Yep. And it's blowing air out through it's exactly opposite. You're absolutely right. Whoever that was in the chat is absolutely right. It is sucking air in from the top and blowing air out through the front. That's first time I've ever seen that out of an Alienware. And I'm not surprised, because it's not that it has to make any sense. It's more important that it's just done differently because it's Alienware and they want to be different. But it works. It certainly works. But you're absolutely right. Okay, let's fire it up, and we should get a boot error. So there you see the alien head lights up. Let's move us over to input number, is it 2? Let's see if it's input 2. Let me resize this. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's just move this over here for right now. Should have no bootable device. And let's grab Windows 10 installation media right here. And we'll plug it in the back. I always like to prefer the back as to the front. We'll pick a USB 3 blue spot. Let's turn this back off and back on again. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Now the M2 slot may be disabled in the BIOS too, so we'll find out here in a minute. Remember, that's a brand new M.2 NVMe drive. It has no operating system, no partition, and therefore is not bootable until we install Windows 10 on it. So it's doing everything it's supposed to do right now. I am not concerned. Everything is going as it should be. Let's go full screen on the computer screen so I can read it. And where's my mouse? Click next, install, and let's see if it offers us the M2 drive. Accept the license agreement and hit next. Custom, always choose custom. Looks like it's found the 500 gig NVMe drive, so let's just select it and let it roll. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to minimize this, well, not minimize it, but we'll move this back into the corner so I can see you. Interesting. Yeah, we'll just put it right there for now. All right, looks like there may be some questions I missed, so let's just take a look and see what people have to say. Did I plug into the onboard graphics card? No, doesn't appear that I did. Looks like I'm plugged into the NVIDIA card. What else? What other questions do we have? Carey, why do you prefer plugging into the rear USB ports instead of the front? The front ones typically don't have all the power. So like if you plug in an external hard drive, like a laptop hard drive into the front ports, it may not be enough power to power it. Also, the ports up front are all black and I can't tell which ones are USB 2 and which ones are USB 3 without putting my glasses on. If I go to the back of the board, I know I've got full power. Go to the blue ports, I'm in USB 3. I don't have to put on any glasses. It just works. It's just a very good habit to get into. Not all computer cases have USB ports up front or USB 3 ports up front. You need to look at the back of the board to see what the board actually supports. Furthermore, sometimes those ports aren't plugged in or you know, especially if it's a customer build, or the customer's never used it, so they don't even know that it doesn't work. It's one more particular problem that you can encounter that interferes with your ability to get the job done. Once the job is done, if you want to check all the ports and make sure they all work, it's always a good idea to check that, make sure the sound works. Things that customers will call you up after the fact to cause another trip out to the customer's location at your cost, because the customer will consider that a warranty. I would check all that at the end, but in the meantime, go straight to the back of the board so you're not messing about. That's the logic there, because it could be just as simple as a voltage issue. But also for me, it's speed. I want that USB 3. I pay $22 for those 16 gig USB flash drives. I know you can buy a USB 16 gig flash drive for $4, but they're not as fast as that. And that's not as fast if it's plugged into a USB 2 port. What's the point in having it? Now, on some computers, there may only be USB 2 ports, but I typically don't work on computers that old. It usually costs the customer more money to pay me to work on a system that old because of how much time is involved in waiting than what it would cost to replace that machine. So that's just the scale of economics of parts versus labor. In America, parts are cheap. Labor is expensive. You know, even car transmissions more or less aren't repaired anymore. Smart people just change a transmission. They just pull the old transmission at just a few bolts, drop the transmission, put a new one in, get yourself back on the road in hours instead of days, and you don't have to worry about a gear not being synchronized right or a clutch you know, not being installed correctly or whatever problems arise from rebuilding a very complicated automatic transmission when you can just drop it, reinstall it, and just let somebody else deal with it. That's the American way. It's all about time. Time, time, time. Go, go, go. Quick, quick, quick. Money, 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 money. Save me money, make me money. That is just the general American attitude. I think it's most of the attitude around the world. It's the scale that's different, but here in the US, it's about, do I do one transmission job that's going to take me 2 days, or do I do 4 transmission jobs in 1 day? Which one makes me the most money? Customers are going to be happier if they have their stuff back faster, and there's no worry about screwing it up, you know, not rebuilding it right or being under stress that would cause that script to begin with. There are transmission repair shops, but they're old school and they're going away. There's the Wi-Fi. We're just going to ignore that for now. We'll continue. Winston Angloos contributed 2 Canadian dollars. Thank you, Winston. I'm just going to put the word user in here. U-S-E-R. No password. And I always say no to this junk. Location can be helpful if you want to know where restaurants are near you, if you wanted to set your time zone automatically. If you turn that off, you better be setting all that by hand, folks. So we're going to let Windows 10 finalize. Now this is Windows 10 Pro, and it looks like the computer came with Windows 10 Home. But my goal is not to use this drive. I will contact the customer, find out what their budget is, and we'll figure out what capacity and what speed. A lower budget will put us into an Intel 660p, which will get us about 2,000 megabytes a second. Worst case scenario, if we went to a solid state drive and put it down here, 550 megabytes a second at about the same cost of the Intel 660p series of M.2 NVMe drives. And of course, if the sky's the limit, the Samsung 970 Pro would be the way to go. We're looking at around 3,500, 3,400 megabytes a second. Jesse Kirks contributed $5, says, time is money. Happy Monday. Yeah, well, that is ultimately the deal. It is, everybody wants help. Nobody wants to wait. And nobody wants to have a bidding war. They want the cheapest price possible. So the idea is simply to try and get as many people helped as quickly as possible for the cheapest price. And you better hope you do it right the first time, because if the customer comes back, you've got a little PR nightmare, and it's taking away working on other customers that are causing those customers to wait. They may get tired of waiting and take their business somewhere else. So warranty work can put you out of business. It's important that every customer gets the exact amount of time they need to make sure the job is done right. And then now the next customer gets my full attention. And then anybody else just has to wait their turn, so that each person who has my attention gets my attention without distraction, so I can see that through, get it done right the first time. That saves me money. Customer gets their machine back happier. The next customer in line gets help sooner. Everybody's happy. And when things happen, you just have to suck it up and get it done the second time and make sure it's not going to be a third. When you start hitting your third or fourth time, you need to start considering refunding customers money and suggesting they take it somewhere else, because that will cost you less if you have a customer that just doesn't seem to have anything else better to do than make up stuff or bring up problems that are not what others would consider real problems. Sometimes customers have tutoring issues and they need to be taught. Well, my fees don't include that. It's too time consuming. And every once in a while you run into somebody who just doesn't know what they're doing, and they'll keep calling and calling and calling and calling and calling and calling, and they don't want to pay you anything. It's like, I've already paid you. This is all warranty. It's like, no, this isn't warranty. I fixed your car. I'm not teaching you how to drive a stick. I'm sorry you don't understand what a clutch is. I'm sorry you don't understand what gears are. It's not my job. And at some point, depending on what you've got in parts, you just refund the labor. Go, look, man, sorry that you and I don't work well together. Hope you can find somebody who can help you. And you've got to move from it quickly, because it's costing. When it starts costing you money, there's an issue of pride and ego versus money. And I can't pay my electric bill with my pride or my ego. Not only that, I'm not pleasing other customers that are patiently waiting for me, causing them to wait longer and wondering what all the delays are, as I allow another customer to keep drawing me back and drawing me back and drawing me back. There gets to be a point where it's like, okay, enough is enough. After about the third time, and before maybe it would have been 4 or 5 times, but now I'm down to 3. That's where my patience level's at. And there are better suited technicians to help people like that. What I'm trying to do, again, is help as many people as quickly as I can for the least amount of money. And when people try to exploit that, like they expect the world for a dime, I will give them what I feel is 2.5 times what they paid for. And beyond that, I'm not giving them any more. That's it, we're done. So again, when you DIY stuff, these aren't factors you have to consider. When you're watching these entertainment channels on YouTube that discuss tech and reviews, they're not talking about consequences of being held accountable and responsible and liable for the hardware down the road. You know, what sort of issues it can cost the customer and how liable it makes them for that customer's losses, plus their expenses in making it right, and the consequences to their customers. So you're running a business, you're working on a custom machine, you say, I plan on having this down later today. Client calls you, says, that machine you sold me 9 months ago is on the fritz. I got customers that are pissed off at me. I need you here now. You have to stop what you're doing and go there. Then your other customer says, hey, it's 5 o'clock. You said my computer be done. I didn't hear back from you. What's going on? You don't really see that portrayed on other YouTube tech channels. And it's fine. It's just that I want you to be aware of the difference. And being a tech is a very rewarding job, and it holds a lot of responsibility if you want to do it for a long time. If you want to do it for a short time, well, just do it like you watch on most videos, and you won't have to worry about being in business very long. Nicholas Bernard has contributed 20 Canadian dollars. He said, I've reconsidered building an AMD PC with the X570 chipset. I don't like the fact that every motherboard has a fan on it. It just sounds like a problem in the future when it will fail. I'm going to wait for the next Intel 10th gen CPU. Yeah, I agree. I would not be a pioneer into a first generation, although this is technically a 3rd generation. What people keep overlooking in the reviews, both in magazines and in videos, they keep talking about the Ryzen 3000, Ryzen 3000, Ryzen 3000, but nobody's really discussing the chipset and the consequences or the idiosyncrasies of that chip. Every chipset has idiosyncrasies, and you've got to be willing to sacrifice. And we're not talking about the sacrifices. All they're talking about is all the good. And I think it's a huge disservice to just make an assumption that the chipset's not worth discussing. Of course it's worth discussing, because no matter how good the CPU is, it would be like, who cares about what tires you put on a Ferrari? Well, it depends if you're driving it. You know, if you intend to actually use that Ferrari and use it at speed or on a track and with high-speed turns and critical braking, you can't go cheap on the tires. In fact, it could be deadly. And it doesn't matter how great the engine is or how exclusive the car is or what waiting list you were on to get it. It's just, there's a factor on the internet. It's tunnel vision. All you see is the CPU. What about the motherboard? And your CPU is not any better than the board. And I agree, any chipsets that require fans, those fans are going to go. And those are often the hardest fans to find. However, with Amazon, you can find just about anything. So it's not the problem it used to be. But certainly if it was a motherboard that had just a big heatsink, it'd be a non-issue either way. And thank you for the contribution, by the way. Nicholas, I appreciate that. All right, let's go back to full screen on this. There we go. And let me grab, let's see, we'll pull the Windows 10 installation, and we'll put in the utilities, and we'll put up a crystal disk mark. Let's grab crystal disk mark. Did I not get it? Why is it not coming out? What's the problem here? There it is. Now we should see the upper 3000s on the read speeds, sequential read speeds here. Let's see what this motherboard can do. $3428.3. The box did say 3400. That's good. Brian Larson's contributed $2. He says, thanks, Carey. Well, thank you, Brian. John Feiner said, I'm using a 9900K Intel chip on a Z370 chipset. Runs great, cool and fast. I thought those required a Z390. Am I mistaken? I thought certain features of the chip weren't running at the Z370. Can't remember now. Good to know. Good to know. Those numbers are very impressive, though, aren't they? So if you can imagine that this system has all this potential, and its main bottleneck throughout the entire ownership of this computer has been that mechanical hard drive, which probably transfers data somewhere around the 200 megabyte per second range. And this is transferring at 3400. So how many times faster is that? All with a simple install of what appears to be a stick of gum and a tiny screw. So I got my last date. John says, no, the 9900K runs on a Z370. Well, clearly it must. I must have confused it with another one. Now we're going to check the sequential write speeds. What did the box say? Did the box say what the sequential writes are supposed to be? I think it was only reads. Well, we're about to find out here anyway. David Santiago says hello. Hey, David. Michael Dane's in there. Hey, Michael, welcome in. 2,500 on the writes. That's incredible. That is very impressive. That stick of gum, they say, is expensive. It's cheaper now than they've ever been. So that's just, my dad used to have a sign on his office, his home office, and it said, don't tell me it's expensive, just make more money. When you consider what the average family spends for a week's worth of groceries, an NVMe drive is far cheaper than that and will last far longer. Now, if it's a choice between eating and having fast storage, well, maybe you could sort of find a middle there and go on a little diet and save the money. And if somebody wants something bad enough, they'll get it. They're under $100. And in fact, you can get NVMe drives now that are 500 gigs for well under $100. That's profoundly inexpensive. If I had said that 3 years ago, you would have bought every one you could find. So it's all about perspective. But it's just obviously, anybody who says it's too expensive means it's just not important enough to them. OG Gaming has contributed $10. He says, sorry I'm late, I have some errands to do. Always good to see you there. OG Gaming, thanks for joining us. OG Gaming, I think that's the owner of this computer, isn't it? I think it is. I can't remember. There's too many things happening in my life. So there, I think, is our final summary of the speeds. 3428. I'm always looking at sequential reads and writes because that's what's important to me. Obviously, how you use your computer some of those numbers may matter more to you than they do to me. But that's what I was looking for. I was looking to see what that potential was if we had the full PCI by 4 bandwidth available, and clearly we do. So now the owner of this computer can decide, do they want to just go with something like an Intel 660p, which gives us about 2,000 megabytes per second on the reads and writes, and you can go 2 terabytes for $200, or would you rather go 1 terabyte for about $350 and hit speeds like that? Just depends what's more important to you, storage space or performance. Or if you want both, probably go to a 2 terabyte Samsung 970 Pro for about $400. About twice the price of the Intel for the same capacity with nearly twice the speed. So there you go. These are the decisions we all have to make for ourselves. There's no right or wrong answer here. Just like when you decide to get a haircut, it's however you want to cut it. You want to shave off the sides and dye it purple? That's on you, man. It's on you. Want to grow it long and go for that Keanu Reeves look? Go for it. It's on you. Carey, what are your thoughts on Windows 7 usage in 2019? You're fine. You're fine. Windows 7 usage beyond January 2020, specifically January 14th, is probably going to be okay until about March or April. And then things are going to start getting a little bit iffy. And it'll get worse and worse and worse every minute that ticks on as the bad people on the internet will work to exploit that. And it'll be your identity and your data, so I don't really care. In other words, there's just too many people, and if somebody knows the risks and they just think it's not going to happen to them, it's none of my business. Zerloth has contributed $5. He says it's Amazon Prime Day. The sale is on, so the prices might be even cheaper. When prices are really good, though, they sell out really quick. So you got to react very quickly to those sales. But be that as it may, yes, it is Amazon Prime Day. All right, let's shut this down. Turn this off. And then we'll go back to my main camera. Right there. There I am. Okay, so anyway, that's what we're looking at here. So can an Elgato capture card go in there? Absolutely, no problem. Will he be able to upgrade that video card to like a 2080 or whatever? Yes, we do need to change the power supply. That's entirely possible, no big deal. It looks like the power supply unit could be even bigger than this one, but I would stick with like even an EVGA 600 watt cheap power supply would be better than this. And I believe it's the exact same size. And 600 watts should be plenty. And then with regards to the M2, whatever the customer wants to do, we'll just clone whatever he's got, assuming he's got no problems, which he said he didn't have any problems. And we can just clone everything off of that onto the M2, and then I would recommend removing that. As long as you want to keep a mechanical drive in your computer, it will remain the bottleneck indefinitely. Some people think it's great to have a storage drive, but that storage drive slows your whole computer down. So if you're into performance, you don't want mechanical storage. If you're into storage, then you don't care about performance. It's just one or the other. Or you have a lot of money and you can put together some sort of weird NVMe array, which would be ridiculous anyway. But make no mistake, keeping a mechanical drive in your computer will slow it down, even when you're not using it. Now, granted, you may not see much of a difference in your boot times or your load times, but I assure you, it is slower. And this will be your first point of failure because it is a moving part. Whenever anything fails, you're typically going to get a fan, like a power supply fan, or a mechanical drive. That is the most common repair of all the repairs I do. So it's just a matter of time. With regards to solid state storage, the solid state storage is measured by a certain number of writes before it fails. And people are consumed with that number, thinking it's some kind of doomsday countdown timer. The problem is, if I told you doomsday was in 8.5 billion hours, it's just not going to happen in your life, and it's really nothing for you to worry about. The mean time before failure on these solid-state drives is about 3 to 5 times more than a mechanical hard drive. Mechanical hard drives don't measure reads and writes. They measure hours of use. And M.2 solid-state drives, any solid-state drive, doesn't measure hours of writes. It measures amount of data written. And for most users, even heavy users, that's more than a computer's lifetime. If we average a computer's lifetime as being somewhere between 4 to 9 years, maybe even as much as 10 years, it's unusual that anybody would have the same storage device for that period of time without upgrading it to something more capacious, faster, both, regardless if it works or it doesn't. This idea that you want to minimize the number of writes is preposterous. If you were told how many heartbeats you have left, your heart was going to beat so many times, and this is true of all of us, and when it hits that number, you're done. Would you live your life any differently? So all I'm saying is, don't adjust how you use the computer, or don't decide if you want an M.2 versus a hard drive based on mean time before failure. Solid state drives are far more reliable than any hard drive that has ever existed, and they're only getting better. I would love to see somebody wear one out. I mean, you would have to do it more or less with intention, or you'd have to be in some kind of massive data center, like, you know, some Google Access server or something that's just getting hammered on all day, 24/7 without a break. That's a profoundly extreme example. And in those examples, hard drives do better. But for regular home users and regular office users, M.2 drives, or any solid state, I keep saying M2, but any form of solid state drive, far more reliable, far faster, and will last far longer. And you're more likely to replace it due to faster drives and more storage than you are to have it fail on you. You'll replace it first in most cases. 9 out of 10 times, you'll replace it long before it's bad. But it's your money, and you're the one who has to live with it. So you do what you want. But this idea that there's risk there, it's less risky. It's less risky than a hard drive. It's just this lack of experience and fear of what you don't know. Every solid state drive I've ever installed, none of them ever have come back, ever. They're all still working. So the first one I installed was 2013, and those were OCZs, which have a very bad reputation. They all still work. They all still work. We've replaced all of those, by the way, because they were all 128 gigs, and that's just too small. Then we went to 240s. I think we're sitting on 240s now, but the 128s were put back in use. You'll see me use one on my test rig, and I've got a couple others laying around here that they're too small for me to really put in anything. So I use them for testing. And if one should break, what do I care? It has no value to me. Just haven't broken. Carey, what is your experience with Thermaltake power supplies? Used some Thermaltakes for a while in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then other companies just surpassed them in quality and price. So I haven't used Thermaltake in many years. I ended up giving away the last Thermaltake I had, which was pretty old. It wouldn't die, which is a good thing. But they're just too expensive, and I think I get better deals from EVGA. I get a better warranty. I think it looks better. It's just as reliable, if not more reliable, than the Thermaltakes. And who's the other one I like? EVGA and can't think about it. I mean, I've been using EVGA for so long now. I think I've had 2 bad EVGAs in 4 or 5 years. And when you consider how many I build, that's a pretty good ratio. Of the Seasonics, I think I installed about 12 Seasonics in the same amount of time, and 2 of those have already gone bad. So their ratio's not as good. But they're very, very overrated on the internet. These people just get as far as I'm concerned, they're brainwashed. You know, when somebody is just so loyal to a brand, not everything a brand makes is good. So there's plenty of stuff EVGA makes that I like, and there's some stuff they make that I won't buy, like their motherboards. Corsair, I like their cases, their RAM, their power supplies. I do not like the keyboards. There's pretty much every manufacturer, they've got their good and their bad. You know, every Noctua cooler is not great. And they're very expensive. I think the scythe coolers are a much better value for the money than any Noctua. But that's my opinion. But when I'm the one who has to support it and I'm the one who's going to get the phone call when it breaks, then, you know, it matters to me. But when you buy what you buy and you go against my advice, and if you have a problem with it, it doesn't make a difference in my world. So when a customer's paying for when they're you know, hiring me, is to follow that advice, not to police it or question it. That's just not how businesses work. You can imagine going into Best Buy and saying, well, how can you charge this much for this when it's not even that good? They'll say, well, then leave. Who are you? Plenty of people here are buying it and they're happy. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. Nobody's putting a gun in. But people do this on the internet. It's very strange. Michael says, Seasonic pays reviewer. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. And again, not all companies manufacture bad product either. So when I say I prefer not to use Seasonic because I've had a higher failure rate on them, it's not to say every Seasonic failed. That's not what I said. I am not saying if you buy a Seasonic that you will experience a failure. I did not say that. But again, this is what people on the internet hear. I'm telling you that I've had more Seasonics fail than, you know, percentage-wise, than EVGA. And I find the thermal takes are no longer competitive in warranty or price anymore. It's not that they were ever a bad power supply. So, you know, when you're held accountable to somebody else, it's just very different. When you sell a power supply to somebody and then it breaks or causes a problem, you'll have to fix it in warranty for free at your cost. It might change your opinion when a couple from a specific brand or a specific model cut into your wallet and make you look like a fool to your customer. Your attitude may be very different than, hey, I bought one time and it still works, therefore the entire company is gold. Okay. Carey, you've got a background hum coming through. Oh, do I? Let me check that out. I got to get a pair of headphones. I can't hear my audio without feeding back into the microphone, without wearing a pair of headphones. And I had to make some adjustments to the microphone to do the dual microphone setup. So let me check this out. Where are my headphones? Here we go. Yeah, the dual microphone setup, things change. A lot of things have to change, channels, frequencies, and then when you shut one off, then you may end up with another issue, which sounds like what you guys are describing. So let me just check and see if I can hear it. Let's see. Check. No, I don't. There's no hum. I think you're hearing the air conditioner. It's 113 outside, I think. May be able to change the filter a little bit. Let's see. Check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. I mean, I can increase the noise suppression, which is what I've done. But yeah, I think you're just hearing the air conditioner. Yesterday, or not yesterday, Friday, when I was hooking up both microphones, they both were attempting to go onto the same channel. And it was creating just the most annoying, high-pitched feedback. It was really, really bad. And without wearing headphones, I would never even know it was there. And you know, people do this with their Wi-Fi too. People buy a router, take it out of the box, plug it in, and they leave it on the default Wi-Fi channel, which is usually channel 6. And you shouldn't leave your Wi-Fi on channel 6, especially if you are in an apartment or you have neighbors, because they probably did the same thing and you're probably all on the same channel. There's really only 3 channels to choose from. There's 1 through 11, but all the channels are so close together that you really only have each end of 1 and 11 in the middle. So you can pick channel 1, channel 11, or channel 5 or 6. That's it. Those are your 3 channels. So if you're the kind of person that you just took your Wi-Fi router out of the box, plugged it in, and set a Wi-Fi password and you're done, and you're experiencing like dropouts or slowness, I would advise you to go in and go to channel 1 or 11. Pick an extreme side of it. If your router chooses auto, it only does that at startup, which means, let's say you started up the router 6 months ago, and since then your neighbors have added things, or maybe you bought a new microwave oven, or who knows, that channel may now have noise. You'd have to turn the router off and back on again each time you want it to auto find the clean channel. Or just go in there yourself and try changing it to 1, see if that works better. If it doesn't, go to 11, see if that works better. Don't waste your time with anything besides 1, 11, or 5 or 6, because 5 and all the other numbers are just, their frequencies are far too close to really make any difference at all. 5 gigahertz, yeah, clear. You can use 5 gigahertz is better, but it doesn't have the range of 2.4. Let's take a look. I am kind of curious now how hot it is outside, because it's miserable. It is brutal. That's what it should say, brutal. (114) 114 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 46 degrees Celsius with 14% humidity. It's a very dry, you know, basically fire. Fire is dry. It's hot. So yeah, you're gonna hear an air conditioner. Can you do a video on changing the channels on a router? No, because every router is different. It would be a waste of time. You could even have the same router with a different firmware and it won't line up to the screens. So best that you just look up the model of your router on Google, pull up the documentation and read it accordingly, or search YouTube for videos where people may have done it with your specific brand of router, and hopefully your firmware still matches close enough to theirs. You need to stop thinking and acting like a robot and start. So that's my goal. I don't want people to just repeat what they see. I want you to understand you need to go into your router, you need to look for your Wi-Fi settings, you need to look for where the channels are in the 2.4 gigahertz range and change it to 1 or 11, and then test it and make a decision for yourself. It is not a matter of click here, click this, click that. No, that's not what I want to do here. I don't want little robots. I want you guys to know what you're looking for and feel confident that you can go in there, know what you're looking for. Don't change anything else but what I'm telling you, and then see the results of that, and then decide accordingly what works best for you. The government does not believe in climate change. Yeah, neither did the dinosaurs. All right. What else do we have? It's 88 degrees Fahrenheit here in Ohio with 80% humidity. Ooh, sticky. Fjord says Denmark is richer, less crime, and better than USA in many ways. Can I move there? Please? Mark Baggett says it's 79 degrees Fahrenheit here in Massachusetts. High humidity, though. That sounds nice. Do I like Alienware? It's fine for what it is. I think as long as you have the right expectations to understand what it is you're buying and you're okay with it, I'm okay with it, sure. It is what it is. But it isn't what it isn't. You're not going to have all the availability of upgrade and the ability to modify as you would building one yourself. And you're going to pay top dollar for it, which you wouldn't necessarily if you built an equivalent one of your own. But if that's what you want, it's a fine purchase. It'll be a good machine. They're generally reliable and have good support, but they're also very expensive, a little elitist. Okay, so what the next step is in this, there'll be a part 2 to this, obviously. And this is off, by the way. There's no power to this. I shut it down. So any hum you're hearing is not, this computer is very quiet. I didn't check the fans, and I'll turn it back on. I'll make sure all the fans are turning, but we'll go with an EVGA, at least a 600 watt, because I know that it'll fit. If we go bigger than that, it might be too large. I have to look into that. But he doesn't want to change the graphics card yet, but he's looking to do that on his own at a future point, and he wants everything to be ready. So all he has to do is open it up, pull the card. We have to decide what we're going to do for an M.2 and get that ordered and clone what he's got with a Cronus and move it over, and then I would pull that drive and leave it out. That would be my recommendation for the customer. Beyond that, I think he's sitting good on RAM, but if he wants to upgrade the RAM, we could certainly discuss going to 32 gigs if he wanted to. I probably think that's a waste of money. And if he wants to do the Elgato PCIe capture card, we could certainly put that in. I'd put it into the bottom slot, I think would be the best place for that. I think that's it. Very easy job. Michael Dane says, I think he might be nuts to want to change out that graphics card. Yeah, 1070 is no slouch. But he's not talking about doing it right away, but he is set in near future, whatever that means. Upper Michigan here, 90 degrees Fahrenheit and rainy all week. Yeah, but that doesn't sound too bad, really. Rain is cool. Cools the air. We might get rain later this week. We'll see. Gets to be what we call monsoon season, where it will pour. Pour down in rain. Lourdes Evans has contributed $2. Thank you, Lourdes. There is a low frequency pulsating hum when I turn the sound to max. That is probably the air conditioner, and I'm not shutting it off. So I would say don't put your sound to max. Have I ever used Razer products? I've used some stuff from Razer. I've interviewed the president of the company a couple of times. He's a really cool guy. He kind of looks like Robert Plant. It's funny. But I interviewed him back in around 2006, and I interviewed him for Newegg at CES about 2 years ago. A super guy, really like him a lot. Just has a vibe, something I like. But as for the products, I really don't use any Razer products. But that doesn't mean I don't like them. They're just not in the arena of my business. I don't have customers that need gaming stuff. my business clients are trying to help customers. And so they don't require gaming laptops or gaming pads or mice or keyboards that are for gaming, or gaming mics or headsets. But what I've seen from Razer is really nice stuff. And I'm trying to think if I've owned anything. I thought I've owned a couple things from Razer, but I can't tell you what they are anymore. I don't know if I had a Razer mouse, or I thought I did, but I can't remember anymore. I'm sure if I was into gaming, I'd be into Razer products. I think I'd rather have a Razer mouse for gaming than a Logitech mouse for gaming. But in a business, I'd rather have a Logitech mouse than a Razer mouse. Steve Bennett says it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit in Waldorf, Maryland. What about using the old hard drive for extra storage? Covered that already. I thought you said it was a proprietary power supply. Oh, no, it is a proprietary power supply in the sense that it does not have the 8-pin CPU power cable. And so what Alienware has done is they've added this little adapter that adapts off. So if I change this power supply out, which I'm going to, I cannot use this adapter. This whole piece has to go, because that's what modifies the power supply to work with this motherboard. They've sort of kludged it to make it work. It didn't make sense to me when I first saw it, because it seems there's enough cable here to reach to the connector on the board. But then I realized this little connector right here spins off of this connector. It's not coming from the power supply. As such, this is a proprietary power supply. What I replace it with will be a modular standard power supply, and it won't need that adapter. It'll just plug straight into the board, straight into the graphics card, and straight into the motherboard. There'll be no other plugs we're going to use. We're not going to use the hard drive. We don't need any SATA plugs. That's the only SATA plug being used. So there's only 3 plugs. Motherboard. Oh, wait a minute. I stand corrected. What is this? So there's a 4-pin power. Well, this is interesting. Let's just put a twist on things here. This says GPU power. You know what? That's probably for the onboard graphics that we're not using. Let's find out. Let's find out if it'll turn on without that. I think that's not even needed. Let's see what happens. Let's switch back over to let's try this. Alien heads lit up. CPU fan is turning. Top fan is turning. Front fan is turning. Maybe we do need that. Interesting. Very interesting. It looks like it's booting, but I'm getting no video. And though it says GPU power, the GPU's provided its own power from a power supply. So I don't know what would need GPU power on the motherboard other than built-in video. So what I'm going to do, just in case it has booted and we just can't see it, is I'm going to hit the power button one more time, and that should cycle it through the power off phase. And there's a light blinking back here, which looks like a hard drive activity light. The light did go off, so that suggests to me the system did in fact boot into Windows, and we were not able to see it. So now I'm just going to unplug power. Again, never work on a computer with the power plugged in, no matter what state the switch is on the power supply. Safety first. We'll plug that back in, and we're going to plug this back in, power, and then we'll turn it back on and see this time if we get video, which I suspect we will. Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. So when I change the power supply out, it's entirely possible that this is not proprietary, that little connector is. Huh. I'll have to do a little research on that. It's not as clear as I thought it was going to be. See how fast that boots now, right? We'll just hit that button one more time, let it cycle off. I'll have more information when I do the follow-up, when we get the power supply and we decide what we want to do with that. And we'll see what happens. Past Me has contributed €5. Says it's nice and cold in Germany, 19 degrees Celsius in July. Love you, Carey. Well, thank you, Past Me. 19 degrees Celsius. That is, let's see. .6 degrees Fahrenheit. Sounds like heaven. Sign me up. Get me a Bavarian pretzel and put me in that 66-degree weather. Carey, did you get your silver YouTube plaque? Oh, that was a couple years ago. Is your growth trajectory good? You should be getting 500,000 subs by the end of the year. No. Subs grow by about 3,000 a month, I would say. So for me to hit 500,000 will probably take a couple more years, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm not in it for the subs. Subs really only matter to sponsors. You know, if you don't have sponsors and you're just a YouTube creator that's being supported by the YouTube community that follows you, I mean, I guess it depends why you do it. If you're doing it for money, you know, then we'll be taking a break for an ad, which I don't do. I am looking to get, I would like to get Cy, the Recronis, on board as a sponsor, since I'm promoting them anyway when I get paid for it. But what I'm trying to avoid, so there's a company, I'll just tell you, there's a company that's reached out to me, and they have a piece of software that they want me to promote that I don't use, and I don't recommend it. And the reason I don't use it or recommend it is it enables you to like download YouTube videos, which is how I make my living. If you can download my videos, then when you watch me, I don't even make that quarter of a penny I would get. Furthermore, if you have my video, you could re-upload it as your own, and then there gets to be all this copyright enforcement time that has to go into having those videos taken down because it's stealing. So, but they're offering to pay me, and it enables me to make more videos, to buy more equipment, but then it also kind of cuts me off at the knees with regards to my integrity. And I feel like it'll be hard for my viewers to know what is a review and what is a sponsor. And I've yet to really find a YouTube channel that is of any substantial size that doesn't blur that line. And they're making me a very lucrative offer, but I'm still leaning towards no, because if I saw a customer have that installed, I would ask them, do you know what this is? Is this something you use? Because one of the things I do with my clients is we look through the programs list and remove things they don't need. Helps speed up the computer, keeps things more reliable. And that would be one of those that I go, do you know what this is? Is this what you want? If you do, that's fine. I just want to make sure, because otherwise we'll remove it, because you don't need this for to do your work. Like, as best as I understand what your job is. This is more for playing. And on the other hand, you go, well, go for the money. It's a business. On the other hand, I go, well, it's really about educating people, and it's about trust. And at least if you know, like if I'm promoting a Cronus, then I was promoting it long before they came on board. You know what I mean? Like, them coming on board is just icing on the cake. Companies like AData, companies you see me use anyway, Corsair, I would love to have companies like that as sponsors. Coca-Cola, bring it on. Unfortunately, the offers I'm getting are from companies that are very, I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about them. I just want to say they're not companies I recommend. And then doing that kind of feels like I'm selling out. I think I'd rather make fewer videos than make more money. And I kind of feel like if I stick to that long enough, that's a problem that should solve itself. Just do what's right, be patient, give the cream time to rise to the top. And if my videos aren't performing well enough to sustain, then I'm just not good enough at it, you know? Or I'm not willing to do what you have to do to make it work because viewers are unwilling to see value in it. And if that's, so be it, and so be it. But I'll still make videos anyway because I like it. It's tough. It's tough. It's very tempting. It's not like I don't think about it. It's like, there's another offer, you know? And the more I say no, it's almost like they're willing to offer more, like they want it even more badly. It's almost like a, you know, not to a point of ridiculous, like, okay, give me $1 million. Yeah, they'll just laugh at you. But I mean, if they're willing to pay you more than they're willing to pay other people, and maybe it's just by a few dollars, they're willing to do it. And the more you tell them no, the more willing they are to do it. But it doesn't make me like the product anymore. It doesn't make me believe in the product anymore. Could it potentially put me in a studio and, hey, there wouldn't be any more audio hum from an air conditioner and everything could be insulated? It does. But then would the videos be as pure? Would they be as genuine and authentic? Or would you then question everything at that point? Which things are sponsored? Which things does he really mean? Which things is he paid to say? I don't know. I come from a journalist background, and it's really important to me to keep the integrity there because it seems really hard to find on YouTube or anywhere these days. Catbird Feeder says, I used all the products you recommended. See, and that's the thing. That's the thing. I know people trust me when I tell them something, and I don't want to throw that trust away or sell it. Carey, is the floor going in October? No, the floor is going in next week. When are you going to show us your office? You don't need to see the office. There's nothing to look at. I miss your adventurous PC builds. Yeah, there's more builds coming. Everything in time. I honestly just need a break, you know? It's weird because I'll have people go, gosh, I watch your channel and all I see is PC builds. It gets old after a while. I don't mean to be rude, but is there anything else you do? And I do other things and people go, wow, I really miss the builds. I came here for the builds. I personally need a break from the builds just for a little while. I'll come back to it. The last couple, not the last couple, that last sort of run of the last 6 builds I did really took it out of me. There was one that obviously didn't go smoothly, and in my attempt to try and please everybody and never say no, I really burned myself on that really bad, really bad. So I just need a little break. There'll be more. Carey, it's not just the money, you would get more exposure. This is true. This is true. Which would lead to more money, and that leads to independence. It sounds like greed, right? Money, money, money. But what it is it's about independence. It's the ability to get out of the kitchen, get into a studio, and be able to do what I want to do, how I want to do it. But I don't want to sacrifice anything. I don't want to give up. I don't want to make that trade. So I don't know. For now, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Your contributions that come in, you guys make it possible that I don't need the sponsors. If I could, again, if I can get a Cronus, A-Data, Scythe, any of the companies you see me use, Corsair, I'd gladly take them on. Unfortunately, the offers I've been getting lately have been from, a lot of Chinese companies that are trying to break through in a very competitive market. And then of course there's my own app. The Windows 10 Optimizer has done pretty well. A lot of you guys bought that, and I appreciate that very much. And then I don't like to be a guy who takes and doesn't give anything back. That's why we do the case badges. It's something unique that's only offered here. Nobody else you just can't get that anywhere else in the world. You can go to careyholzman.com and you can pick those up, and all the money goes to support the channel. Keeps me online. Or it helps with the veterans. A couple of computers were shipped to me specifically to give away for the vets. The last two we gave away have not been shipped yet. I still have to get that done. The laptop is still sitting back there. I need to order a battery. I haven't even ordered the battery. Somebody said they sent me one and they didn't send it. So I need to look into it. The other thing is a gentleman named Carl sent me a couple computers. I haven't even had time to open the box. That's how busy things have been. So I have to open the box and let Carl know I received it, and then figure out what it is, what I have to do to configure it so we can give it away, and then get those out of the house because I have to make room for the floor. Everything has to come off the floor. Darkly Devious says, at the end of the day, the viewers make the choice. Not necessarily. There's a certain amount of patience. Like if I don't want to be patient, if I go, look, I want this money and I want it now, I can pull the trigger and I can make that happen. But then I feel like I'm blurring the line between me and all the other hobbyists and enthusiasts doing tech channels. I'm not sure I'm willing to pay the price of, like when I sell my integrity, I just don't think I can ever buy it back. So I'm not sure what it's worth. So for now, I'm not taking any of those deals, but they are coming in about 2 or 3 a week. Most of them I don't, they want me to test drones. Like I don't test drones. There was a very nice offer made to me about testing some Wi-Fi routers, but I don't have the means to test mesh Wi-Fi. I don't have a big enough house for that, or a client that needs it where I can really truly review it. I was even offered an exclusive that I would be the only one or the first one reviewing a product. And as tempting as it is, if I feel like I'm not going to do it justice, I'd rather not do it. It's just not my wheelhouse. It's not, it was frustrating. Like when I brought in Genius on and we talked about their outdoor Wi-Fi, I couldn't show it off. I couldn't put it into an example. I can talk about the concepts and I can read the marketing material, and I'm happy to do it, but I can't really tell you, was it a pain to install? Was it easy to mount? Did it go the distance I thought it would go? What are their caveats? How did it sustain extreme weather conditions since it's outside? I know it's like IP68 or whatever it is rated. And I like the company and I like their products, but I just don't have the means to really give the kind of review I want to give, and since I didn't, I just declined it. That was a tough decline too, because it was look, if you want to see a review on that, there'll only be one place you can see it for a while, and that would be here. But what's the point if the review is just reading the marketing materials? But I'm glad the offers are coming in. Speed04GT says, I just built my third computer in 15 years. Thanks for your videos. I use them as a refresher during my current build. Right on. Matt E says, what I have always appreciated about your channel is the concept of one man against the crappy OEMs. One man building computers the way they should be. Wouldn't that change, or would that change if you had a major sponsor? It's more than that. I mean, I appreciate that's what you see, but I do more than just challenge OEMs. I'm a repair technician. I have to fix everything, right? So if it's computer or tech, and it's within my ability to fix it, regardless of whether or not I built it, and whether I need software in that repair, or whether certain tools, those are kinds of things I'd like to follow into for potential sponsorships, not third-party software that's irrelevant to what I'm doing here, because it makes money. Robert Spores contributed $5, and he says, I genuinely appreciate your journalistic integrity with regards to sponsors. It's very refreshing. Your community will gladly continue to be your sponsors. Well, one would hope. You know, again, you can't speak for all the viewers. I have plenty of viewers that think of this as panhandling. But I'm not asking anybody for any money. I'm just simply stating, if you want to contribute, we have the means there for you to do so, and that the money does go back into the channel. People hear what they want to hear. There's an entitlement that they somehow think that this all gets paid for magically, or YouTube pays a lot of money. I don't know. There's a certain amount of viewers that no matter what you do, I could give away $100 bills and they would tell me I'm doing it wrong, and that I'm a shill for the government promoting the world economy of the World Bank and the fallacy of the value of $1 without the gold standard. It's all an illusion. I mean, there's just no stopping the mental health issues that exist, and they run rampant and freely, uncaged and untethered on the internet. And I've got a block button and I use it a lot, but it's also something that makes me waver sometimes. Like, why am I fighting so hard for something that it feels like not everybody appreciates it? Like, why don't you just give in, take the money, and do what everybody else is doing? Because clearly, even when you do it all by the standards that I consider to be moral and ethical, I'm still being attacked by monsters out there who claim otherwise. So if I'm going to get the punishment, why don't I at least get the reward of the crime? But so far, my mother's upbringing has stuck with me, and to endure in the hopes that it'll get better. But at the same time, if it is what it is. It's fine. It's fine. But those kind of comments do kind of make me wonder what I'm doing. Like, why am I staying so true to this when so many people don't care? But at least I feel like, in my mind, I feel like, well, those people are just crazy. They're insane. And other people just don't get it. Many of you do get it, and it means a lot to me that you do. There's just not enough of you. But I don't think there'll ever be enough. There can never be too many. I can tell you that. John 10 says, I may not always agree with what you say, but I respect what you say. That's very kind, and that's all I ask. I don't expect people to necessarily agree with me. I have my own life experiences, and those have indelibly scarred or changed my logic and reasoning in certain instances. And if you don't share those experiences, it would be impossible for you to understand where they come from. And so your experiences are impossible for me to understand. But I have to base my life on what I've actually experienced, and I have to keep my business afloat. It's the responsible thing to do for my family. It's a responsible thing to do for my customers. When you go out of business, it's not just about you. You're really screwing over your clients who count on you. So, not to mention your family. Marty Yoels contributed $2. Hey, thank you, Marty. Doc Pewter says, I know you recommend the Corsair 200R, but Micro Center doesn't stock it. What do you think of the 275 I don't like the $275. I would just order the $200 online and be done with it. I'm not a fan of Micro Center. I'm not a fan of buying any parts retail. I'll order from Newegg. I'll order from Amazon. Sometimes I order from B&H Photo. Those are my three main go-tos. So, and again, I see some comments coming in, like reassuring me. Listen, I'm not fishing for compliments. It's unnecessary, and I do appreciate it, but it's completely unnecessary. I'm just letting you know some of the struggles behind the scenes that I'm dealing with, and it is causing sort of a deferment with regards to the frequency of videos that I've been making, apart from some other family issues that have also taken place. July is not going to be a good month for me for production. You know, the amount of production. There was 2 months ago, I was making videos every day. I'd like to get back to that as soon as life will allow me to. When is the NFL player computer build? So that's with Eugene Mingo. I haven't set any time or date up because it's going to require a bit of expense on my side. I would have to basically drive to Denver at my expense, provide all the computer parts at my expense, go to a hotel at my expense, make the video at my expense, and drive home at my expense. In exchange for that, I get a video with Eugene Mingo, which Eugene seems eager to want to do, and I'm eager to want to do it, but who pays for it? And so I keep running into the same circle. That'll cost more than YouTube pays me in a month. I can tell you that. That one video will cost me more than YouTube will pay me in a month. So I just have to figure out, you know, if you take on an investor, then you got to pay the investor back. You can't miss any payments, and there's usually interest. And it's just more pressure. It's not fun anymore. It becomes a job. So I'm trying to avoid that. Plus, like I said, with the floors going in, with some family stuff going on, it's not a good time. And traveling in the summer is miserable. But, you know, driving in 114-degree weather, here at Car AC just doesn't get cold enough, trust me. So I'm still, it's rolling around in my head. I'm still trying to piece together how that can happen. It's not like off the books or anything. It's just, I just have to sort of figure out how to make it work. Jimmy says hello. How you doing, Jimmy boy? You saying hello? Are you saying hello? There he is. There he is. Look at his face. Look at that face. What time is it? Oh, it's dinner time. You are the best clock. You are. How do you know it's 5 o'clock? How do you know? His little doggy clock went off, I guess. Are you hungry? Uh-huh. 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 Okay. All right, guys. Well, Jimmy really wants to eat, so... Oh, is that right? So I better feed him. Hey, guys, thanks so much for watching. And I will follow up when we get some parts ordered for this, and we'll figure out what the deal is with that other power connector there, if I have to use that adapter or not. Jimmy says, yeah, that's what you sound like. Speak. And here comes Mr. Fluffo. Fluffa the doggo. And you're hot. You're like a baked potato. Are you guys hungry? All right, well, with that, my thanks to Mario L. Robert Spoor, past me. Oh, 2 contributions from past me. Lord of Seven, Zerloth, Sid, the Sims channel. Looks like I missed a contribution there. What if I want speed and lots of storage because I'm a gamer and I need lots of storage? Spend more money. You know, 2 terabyte Intel 660p, that's the way to go. Plug it into, get yourself an external USB enclosure, USB Type-C, and it'll move data a lot faster than an internal hard drive. If you need more than 2 terabytes of storage, I don't have any answer for you except to wait. Bigger solid state storage is coming. So just know that if you want to sacrifice your performance for capacity, then a mechanical drive will get the job done. You can certainly get a 14 terabyte mechanical drive if you want to. I don't know how you back it up other than with another 14 terabyte mechanical drive, and it's going to take a long time and it's a lot to lose. Brendan Larson, thank you for your contribution. Nicholas Bernard, thanks for your contributions today. Jesse Kirk, thank you for your friendship, your contributions as well. Winston Anglu, my friend in Vancouver. UG61 has contributed $7.95, said have a case on me. Looks like I missed that one. And Scott Hallinan from New Zealand contributed $2. It says he loves my work, keep it up. And from BZim and Nicholas Menard again, Zarian Art, Fritzer, JC Williamson, Craig Huchin, Steve Burnett, and Tony Wallow. Thanks you guys so much for supporting the channel, and I will see you all again. I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow or Wednesday. I have some personal things going on, but I will try. In the meantime, I'm going to try and, I don't know if I can get Mitch over here before the end of the week. I think Mitch is going to Thailand or something for a month. So if I don't get him over here by the end of the week, it'll be a month before we see him again. We'll see what happens there. Let's see. Just want to do one final check. Linda Hudson is saying goodbye. Enjoyed the stream. Thank you, Linda. Philip Musto, Gerard Boone, Tony Wallow, Patrick Russo, Tom Miller, Gary Owa, Thomas Carter, Solo. Thanks, you guys. All right. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Until then.